Hey, welcome back to the Hometown Hustle. This episode is going to be a little different than the others, as the topic of conversation isn't so much about our local folks or even local real estate for that matter. Today, we are talking about building communities, learning, and just trying to be better men for those around us. I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves, and so we're going to get right into that. But I want to encourage you to listen through the whole episode because there are a lot of great nuggets of information here that I think anyone could benefit from. And of course, if you like what you're seeing and or hearing, the best way to support our channel is to like, subscribe, follow, and even leave feedback. We truly appreciate it. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the Hometown Hustle. Today, we're sitting down with a couple awesome guys. Now, I'm just going to jump right into it, and I'm just going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and then I'd like to get into what we're going to talk about because Jared, you're an interesting subject because you're not local. So, first off, just introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do for a living, just kind of a brief overview of who you are, and then we'll move to Scott, and we'll work that way. So,
okay. Well, thanks for having me on the Hometown Hustle here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Jared Seagraves, currently Director of Training for Haley Strategic Partners. And what does that mean? It means I get to spend the vast majority of my year with badass Americans all over this country. Just incredible people. And we're in the business of sharing different ways to think. And yes, it's in the firearms community, but it is, it's interesting and it's difficult to answer that question because I almost want to ask you guys, what do we do? Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, we spend time with people teaching firearms proficiency and training, but it's very much more of a forum and a sharing time and opportunity to share and build a community. Mm-hmm. And that's a term that I think we all need to really look at.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if it's our hometown community, if it's our industry community. If we don't invest in our communities, we're going to be in trouble. We're already in trouble and we know it. Mm-hmm. But we're not near as far down the path as I think a lot of people think we are.
Yeah.
And there's still time. Mm-hmm. So, it's about people.
Yeah. Right.
We just invest in people, and it's really difficult. It's hard to put our finger on it because I remember being a student and being changed in the way I perceive things and the way I even think about people and deal with people. So that's a little bit of a difficult thing to answer. You know, What do we do? I live in Texas. Home is Texas. Company's based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Live on a plane. I got 3 amazing kids and a wonderful wife at home that all of them are incredibly supportive because they know what we do out here on the road. And I love to bring them with me. This week, my oldest daughter and her boyfriend came along, and that was pretty special for me. It was her birthday on Friday, so she came out to Grants Pass and spent a few days in class with us, and then they went and saw some sights. So that was really incredible because she saw firsthand the amazing people that we get to spend time with around this country.
Right.
And they both were just blown away, not with the students that they shared the class with, but also this community, you guys, and how giving you and your team have been to us. And it's amazing because it's all about people.
You better be careful. We might steal them. Yeah. They might want to move here. They saw this community and were like, well, I don't know, this place is pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty rad place to live. So which is a good prelude to who you are and what you do because you are local.
I am.
And one of the things about this podcast, when we originally started it, it was about local people, business owners, community people, just companies that are just doing really neat things that maybe not a lot of people know about. So Scott, who are you? Who do you work for? What's going on?
My name is Scott Lookaby. I'm a homegrown Grants Passian. I've been here my whole life. Born and raised here. I work for Noveske Rifle Works. I'm the director of business and product development for them. And then I get to go on the road with these guys every once in a while. So for me, it is all about community and building those communities within those different spaces. I love our community here, and I love the communities that I get to go to and check out when I do get to go on the road. That's a passion for me, is seeing those different people from all around the world that all think alike. But you wouldn't really know that. You don't really think that you can get 25 people in a room that are completely different from different walks of life, and they all have the same mentality. And it's that part for me when I go on the road with those guys is super fun.
They have the same principles.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And those principles are based in compassion and loving their community and wanting to be better humans for the people that they love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would say just across the board, I think when you go and travel and do all those things, people are better than we hear they are. Right.
You're
So whether
right.
they have the same common purpose or where they have that just helps out.
Right.
That's a benefit. But people are kinder, nicer, and wanting to help more than we're all led to believe they are.
And even those that, you know, we hear a lot, it's nice to be around like-minded people. Well, even when you're around those that share slightly different views, they're still good.
Right.
There's still a lot of good out there, and there still are people that can sit down and have a discussion and have a debate and go like, oh man, I don't know if we agree on this.
Yeah, I'm not with you.
But let's have another beer and we'll keep talking.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
And
awesome.
so that's an awesome thing too.
There's definitely still people out there that are like that, and not like those that we all interact with on the internet or apps or whatever it is that everybody's so sucked into now. We kind of feel like that's the only people out there, but that's not really the case. And that's what we always see. But as far as my day job, I do work at Noveske Rifle Works. I am the director of business and product development there. What does that mean? There's a lot of aspects to that. I'm developing new products, which being on the road with these guys when I do that does help with that kind of thing. So it's really nice to be out there to see what's out in the marketplace and what's working, what's not. We do some media and content creation for them. We're starting a podcast, so we'll have a podcast going on over there.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of the stuff that I work with as far as new business development. So I'll be on the road doing that for that, and then we'll come back and we'll start continually working on new products.
Yeah.
And that's generally my day job, which really means I just get to shoot a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Got to suck.
let's just be honest. It's kind of a dream job for anybody who loves firearms. So it's pretty awesome.
I will say that I lucked out, and I'm very very lucky to be in the position I am there. I'm very lucky just to be with being able to do the things that I do. It's I feel super blessed to just be able to do the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I mean, we had Kelly Sparlin on here before, and I mean, you guys know Kelly. You've interacted a lot with him, and one of the things that he said about a question that we often ask people that come on here is like, what's another business that stands out to you? And of course, he said Noveske, but it wasn't just that you guys make these fucking amazing rifles.
Sure.
It's that the people that work at Noveske and the group, the community that you have within your workspace is just awesome, right? It's just, I mean, that's really the cool part about it. I mean, a lot of people don't know that Noveske is like one of the most popular and most reputable rifle companies in the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that we're the tip top of the rifle industry as far as quality,
Right.
Accuracy, and just a well put together piece of. I'm just going to say a well put together tool, because that's what we sell is tools.
Right.
Noveske started here in Grants Pass over 20 years ago, and it grew from a garage in town to international sales of weapons that are being used throughout the country, around the world, to protect this country and other countries that we like as well. And we actually sell probably more rifles to just the commercial market than we do mill and LE. So we're trying to be in every aspect to get as many guns in the hands of the right people that we can. And that's always been Johnny's dream and passion from the beginning. He built this company, like I said, out of a garage into what it is today. And it's always been about the culture of our company and the culture of being able to have a really solid group of people that are all like-minded and all from the same community. We hire from, generally speaking, all of the people that work there are from this community. It's not I think people think that it's just this monster company and we're like this big conglomerate, and it's not. We're privately owned by Lorena Dubeski, and she's always owned it, and she will not ever see that changing.
Yeah.
So being able to do that and do things in the community is super fun for me. I always think that's really cool.
Yeah. And on the same vein, it's I'm trying to give listeners and followers context. Haley Strategic Partners, for those who aren't familiar with the gun industry, is one of the most reputable training companies and product development companies that are out there. I mean, because they not only do the training, but they also make products for military, law enforcement, all that stuff as well. Right.
Absolutely. There's a tremendous amount.
One of the most well-known companies in the entire country.
Indeed.
Right.
Yep.
So,
yeah, we make a lot of soft goods and hard goods for the defense industry. We also have what we refer to as Black Side, and we're actually just now beginning to release that product line and make that visible, and that's products that are specifically developed for the military space.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot going on, and Haley Strategic Train is just one little slice of the pie. It's massive. It's a massive undertaking, and a lot of people don't realize that. And we'll have people come to headquarters in Scottsdale and be like, "Man, this is so much bigger than I didn't realize you guys had this much going on." So yeah, it's incredible. Travis has been he changed the game. He brought training to the surface where people saw what he did 12, 13 years ago with Magpul, all those videos that so many people have seen, and people realize, man, wait a minute, I can go do this.
Right.
I didn't know that this was available to the American people,
Right.
period. And people really embraced that, and it literally changed the industry. It created a culture. And he continues to do that, he and we, because our team is growing, training is growing. We're trying to stop in more cities than ever before. And everybody says, "Oh, when are you going to come to our town?" And we would love to hit every town in every state.
have you been to every state yet?
No, not every state yet.
Okay.
We're trying.
We're
trying.
Even some of those states that don't like us.
Yeah, even some of the states. Well, some of those states that don't like us, or the states that the political
climate
environment
doesn't like you,
climate does not like us.
Yeah.
Those are the classes where we fill, or those are the locations where we fill classes like that, because
sure.
there's such a need.
Right.
And again, a lot of people from the outside looking in, from exogenous standpoint, they don't understand what we do. They think it's all just guns and toxic masculinity, multicam. It's far from that, and you know that, and
Yeah.
and you know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's growing, and we've got a lot going on, and we're building a team of phenomenal people that are in it for the right reasons. They're in it to share their experiences. They're in it to take what they've learned from the military community and law enforcement community and just their own journey, because not every member of our team has military and law enforcement background. That one of those being me. So we're
from my side of it, and we're not going to go too far down the gun road and all that stuff. But
No.
when we talk about training and everything like that, from my standpoint, I don't think you should, and I'm going to probably get a lot of feedback on this.
I know
From
it's
somebody who hasn't taken a Haley class before.
No, but I mean, I'm very aware about my gun abilities and where I'm at, and I'm very smart, and there's problems that I think people should have to go get training before they're able to carry, before they're able to do these things. I'm a big advocate of that, and saying, hey, just because you can carry a gun doesn't mean you should. right? That's where I think your guys' space is so important that you should go do a training class, do whatever you need to if you're going to take the steps of carrying, in my opinion, or even utilizing a firearm. So I think you guys are very strategic, and very important in the space.
Well, regardless of that, and I mean, there's a lot of different opinions in that space, but the I guess the overarching reason why you're here, right? It's like this. For those who aren't aware, like I became friends with Scott and Lorena a couple years ago, and I got the opportunity to go with you guys to a Haley class, which is where I met Jared. So I've known Jared for, I don't know, about 3 years or so. It was in 2020. It was in 2020 that we took that class. So it's been about 3 years. But this conversation, so I've taken these classes, and I love shooting. Like, it's just what I like to do. But I think more so, I like being around the people, and I like being around that that attitude of I'm trying to get better at something here. And that's what really excites me about the classes, is really just going there with purpose and trying to figure something out. Right. And so, but anyway, starting this podcast, and, you reached out to me a couple months ago and like, hey, when I'm in Medford, and, and what month is it? June? April. I don't even know.
Last day of April, guys.
Yeah. Sorry. I haven't slept a lot in the last couple days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody tell me where I'm supposed to be.
Anyway, we've been talking for a couple months, and, and you said, hey, we should do a podcast. And at first I was like, I'd love to talk to you, Jared, because I respect you a lot as an instructor and just as a person, and you're super intelligent. But I was just like, my podcast is really more about local people and like doing local things and this and that. And you're like, all right. So we just like kind of, every couple of weeks, I'd get, well, what if we did this? Or what if we did that? And then finally you came up to me, well, what if we just talked about building communities? Because that's what you're doing with your podcast. Yeah. And I was just like, that's it. Like, this is brilliant. Right. And then, it's really super short notice. I should have asked you before, but some shit happened. So like literally last night
at 12:30 this morning.
Yeah, 12:30 this morning.
You want to join us?
Hey, Scott, you want to come in on this podcast? Because it's what you guys are doing in your industry and in your space is you're building this community that you're just talking about, right? So you're Dan was just talking about this training. Like, we can't regulate that, and there's a lot of people that think you shouldn't regulate that kind of thing. However, what you guys are doing is you're creating this environment that, like, hey, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to carry a gun, whether as a civilian or in a law enforcement space or military, whatever, like, I want to be as good as I possibly can in case that day comes to me, right? And so, and then on our end, on the podcast side, locally, we have a really cool community in Grants Pass, in that there's a lot of people trying to do good for the community. We have problems just like everybody else does. We have a homelessness population. We have drugs and all that kind of garbage that comes through our community. Everybody does, right?
You can't go anywhere and not get that.
Right. But we also, and then there's a plethora of other issues, but we also have a lot of people, and I think this is unique, not unique, like we're the only ones doing it, but I do think that it's what makes Grants Pass unique, is that we have a lot of people who are dedicated to trying to make a difference. Like, there's a lot of community programs. There's a lot of people out there trying to do good things. And so, and a lot of businesses that contribute in that. And so you had asked the question about before we got started, about why the podcast. And so the goal of the podcast was to just talk about those things and be able to share it, in hopes that people could be like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to get involved in that, or, hey, or it sparks an idea. Like, I want to go do this. Right. And so, and that's kind of where the podcast got started. And then from the real estate side of it, I think as in any industry, there's a lack of education. Like in the gun industry, we were talking about this before we got started also. There's a lack of education there about like a lot of stuff in the gun industry. But so on the real estate side, we felt that if we could have conversations with top producing people in the industry that are doing good stuff, and we could share some of that wisdom with the other people in the real estate space, that maybe we could improve what the industry's doing and maybe create this kind of culture, this community of, hey, I want to get better at my job. Yeah. And so I can serve my community and my clients better and this and that. And so that's kind of where the podcast got started.
Affect change.
Affect change, exactly.
Yeah.
So-
really cool thing in regards to Grants Pass. I left my truck at the Safeway parking lot all night.
Nobody broke into it.
Nobody broke in.
Look at that.
How about
I
that?
was like,
Downtown?
God damn, we're changing.
Downtown,
Yeah, law
downtown
enforcement's
Safeway?
doing a great
Yeah.
job.
That's the not so safe way. Yeah.
You just said affect change. And we used the term catalyst several times over the last few days.
Yep.
And we've incorporated that term and that approach more and more over the last couple of years. I was sitting where that kind of came from. I was sitting in a training a couple of years ago, and it was just, honestly, it was terrible. Just terrible speaking, terrible presentation. It was boring and not engaging. And I just started thinking about, looking around the room, thinking about, what are we doing here? And anytime any of us seek out information, how do we maximize that? Because if we seek to learn something, we're trying to change ourselves. We're trying to become different. And then we think about all the aspects of or events in our life that we go through, and we're instantaneously changed and we can't go back. And that is what education should be. And, I taught public school for almost a decade, and we could spend hours talking about that. But you talked about training and then the gun community, and again, not just to harp on that community, but in every career path I've ever taken, I have realized at some point that if we as business owners take time and invest in people and invest in their education and understanding instead of just volume or quantity.
Right.
We want to help people understand the whys behind decisions, from real estate to education to the firearms community. It doesn't matter, from product sales. If you take time to educate people and say, look, here's why we feel this way, here's why we make these decisions, and explore that and educate people, then people go, wait a minute, okay, that makes sense. Thank you for showing me that, because instead of just saying, do it this way.
Right.
Just do it this way. Doesn't matter. And kind of coming back around to what you alluded to is education. Just because you own a gun doesn't mean you should carry a gun. Well, I grew up in Texas. I shot my first gun when I remember I was probably 4 years old. And most of my adult life, I thought I was okay. I had my license to carry for 7 years before I got smacked in the face with everything I didn't know that I didn't know. And then I stopped carrying it because I was like, I'm a liability until I improve myself. And that's all we're doing, is reaching out and showing people what they didn't even know that was out there.
Right.
And I think that so many industries or communities, if they would take that approach to invest time in people, then it's going to grow everything. Everything is enriched by that. Investing in people. It's not about products. It's not about sales. It's about people. And then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's when I got started in real estate, I got started with Nancy Venuti. She's like my mentor for real estate stuff, and Dan also. And I'm gonna harp on him in a second. Not harp. It's more, give him a pat on the back. But when I got started, I got pretty lucky to work with Nancy Venuti, and she invested her time and her energy into the agents that worked on her team, and it showed. So when before the Venuti Group moved up to Remax, the Venuti Group was the highest producing independent firm in Southern Oregon, and there was like 5 of us. Like there was not
Not 5 companies, 5 people
Yeah.
doing
Right.
that volume.
Yeah,
Right.
there was like 5 of us doing the volume, and we were the third highest producing office in Grants Pass, behind John L. Scott and Remax, who have 30 plus agents, and there was 5 of us, and we were third in the area. Like the time that she invested to train us and to help us get better at our craft paid off huge dividends for the production of the entire team. And he does the same thing in a sense from the lending standpoint. He doesn't spend the majority of his time going and buying leads or going and trying to advertise to get new buyers and sellers. He spends his time educating agents, spending time with real estate brokers to help them get better at their craft, because it's only going to help his business and how the whole transaction of the real estate happens, right? And it's just like I agree 1,000% that if you invest the time in the people instead of all the other stuff that people like to invest their time in, like in the gun space, it's, I'm going to buy the coolest ass belt and I'm going to get the most badass rifle with the sickest optic. I'm still going to do both of those, by the way. But
Going
I think
to,
you already-
it's already ordered.
You already did do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. I was saying the same thing.
yeah, but you're exactly right. It's the people that make the difference. And
But the difficulty is, and that was the question. So great interlude. But that was what I was going to bring it back to you. Is like, how do you find the people that want to seek out getting better and becoming knowledgeable? And I feel like that's becoming, when we're competing against phones for time and entertainment and all that stuff, who wants to take 3 days out of their week or their
6.
month or 6 or whatever to make themselves better? I mean, that becomes the struggle, is going, okay, who wants to be, what is it, the Outlier book? Who wants to get their 10,000 hours to become a master at their craft? Very few and dwindling people are willing and wanting to
But
do
it
that.
may not take 10,000 hours.
No, right, I understand that, right? But even if it's just 40 hours or whatever
Right.
it takes, but I mean, so few people want to become masters at their craft. It's almost sad.
And that may be a question that you two can answer to some point. But in the space of these things, we live in a time where there's too much information to sift through. And that's what, I was kind of thinking this morning on the drive over about the Hometown Hustle. It's one more avenue that people have to choose from, but it's a great way to get a message out to the local community of, hey, these are the people that you should look to that are trying to better this community. So if you need these services, go here. So that's what I like about that. But yeah, there's so much information to compete with out there, because the training space specifically blew up after the Magpul Dynamics videos years ago. And then, it was after that the inception of Haley Strategic Partners took place. And the partners is what I like, because the idea behind that is we don't get married to any one specific company or manufacturer or product or anything like that. Our job is to develop partnerships, strategic partnerships within the industry to grow the industry, to better the entire industry, to better people. And there's so much infighting in any given space, be it real estate agencies or training communities or rifle companies or product developers or product manufacturers, instead of just stepping back and going, hey, what can we all learn from each other?
yeah,
How can we, especially us as educators, I don't even like to say instructors. None of us on our team, we don't like the term instructors, because I can't instruct you to do anything or you to do anything. We can simply, how many questions came up last night and we're like, there's not one right answer.
yeah,
There's no one right answer. There's no one optic that's going to fit everybody. There's no one gun that's going to fit everybody in every role. There's not one single decision. There's not an always or never in any space. Doesn't matter what it is. So, the Haley Strategic Partners, that partners means something. And if we would step back and stop trying to tear everybody down in the industry, which a lot of people are doing, and then they say, oh, well, we're just asking questions just to see how you can defend yourself. No, you're not trying to initiate debate.
Right.
You're
Trying to start some controversy so that people will watch your stuff, because
to get clicks and likes.
apparently you wouldn't get the clicks and likes or the people going to watch your page unless you got somebody else to start some controversy with.
Yeah.
And instead of just trying to build the community from the inside out and like work together, and this isn't just in the training space, the community, this is the entire gun industry and the entire other industry for that matter does the same thing. There's little sectors that all do different things, and they want to like just talk smack about each other the whole time instead of realizing that you could really build your own community from the inside out and make it better instead of just trying to steamroll it into the ground because everybody just sees you guys fighting all the time.
Right.
And that's not how it's supposed to be. That doesn't learn anything.
Well, two things. If somebody picks up a Noveski, they know the difference right away. I mean, you could feel, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, not everybody's going to be in your price point. Let's be honest, right? So if you can afford to get a Noveski, awesome. But there can be many players in a space at different price points or whatever. And you guys are looking for the right demographic of individual.
But but in that regard too, that's also why they developed the chainsaw line. Right, is so they can make. I mean, and that's what I think. That's what you're talking about too. Is that how do you get those people that to spend the 10,000 hours or 40 hours or whatever it is to master their craft? And I think it, at least from my perspective, I think it's like I know that there's a lot to compete with. There's a lot of real estate education out there. There's a lot of firearms instruction, all that kind of stuff. Some people are going to identify with certain things a little better than they are with others, right? So,
well, you just made a statement. I know there's a lot to compete with out there, but if you two had to try to handle, if you were the only game in town as far as real estate sales,
Sounds great.
sounds great, but could you handle the volume?
Oh, no.
No, because if
could be.
you guys,
I'm up to give it a whirl.
if you guys were the only rifle manufacturer, could you keep up with demand?
No.
way.
Not possible.
If
Nor would you
if
want
we
to.
No.
Right, the
if
quality
we-
would suffer.
true,
Right.
but if we as a training company wanted to try to train even every person in Grants Pass, could we do it?
No.
No, we can't. So instead of competing and tearing each other down, we should get to know each other. Now I know competition, business is business.
Sure.
Yeah, we all want to thrive. We don't even just want to survive. We all want to thrive. But there's so much demand and so many people to reach. I think about just take Scottsdale and Phoenix, just local to our headquarters. There's no damn way we could train every person that needs training out there. So that partnership is real. If we develop friends and partners within any space, within gun manufacturing, training, real estate, construction, whatever you're talking about, if I'm overwhelmed in my own business and I'm like, man, we just can't get to it. Sorry. Well, who else would you suggest? Because we get that a lot. Well, if I can't do this, what is another alternative? If I can't find a Noveski rifle in stock anywhere, what's another alternative? If I can't find a BCM rifle in stock, get these questions a lot because, again, we work with a lot of different companies. What's another alternative? Find a Noveski. If I can't find that, find a BCM.
Well,
you know what I mean?
What you're talking about, and we talk about it a lot on this podcast, is abundance versus scarcity.
There you go.
Right? So, it comes from the mentality of, hey, I'm going to help the people that I can. And, there's a local lender, here in town that I kind of rib quite often. But we talk and, we say we're the friendliest competition in town. Right? Because we're going to handle, our personalities are completely different. How I handle a client is completely different from how he'll handle a client. And we just match with, and we have our clientele and it's easy. Right? I think in this mine society that we have, it's tough for people to go, I want you to succeed too. Right?
Boom.
Oh, that's
incredible.
100%. Yeah, nobody. Their mentality of things has kind of switched from when I was younger. It didn't ever seem like it was me all the time. And I guess it's a phone scenario with apps and all that jazz. We get locked into all that, and people get wrapped around the axle of what more. I got to get this so I can be better than that, or whatever it is. Instead of just enjoying it. Why can't we just enjoy it? Why can't we all just enjoy the stuff we do, and ask people normal questions and have conversations with people? It just seems like that's gone. We don't have that anymore.
I have a good friend who builds, who's a gun builder. He builds phenomenal AK-47s, and he said one time, never forget this because it applies in so many ways,
Jim
so many
Fuller?
spaces. No,
Different guy.
before I had the opportunity to meet Jim and get involved with this company, but Brian said, I don't have competitors. I have fellow craftsmen and builders.
Yeah, cool.
But he was trying to build guns and sell them as fast as he could and build a business. But he said, I don't have competitors. I have fellow AK builders out there that I want to see succeed also. And he said the exact same thing. If I tried to build a gun for every person out there that needed one, I can't do it by myself. So we all need to do better at helping people. And I'll never forget
There's
that.
an AK that shoots straight.
There's some really
Wow.
wild AKs out there.
Dude, Jared, you have no idea how bad I want to get him in a class. Seriously.
That was a joke.
This guy is Mr. Weaver stance all day long.
It's the best platform ever built.
Wow. All right. I'll take that.
So,
I don't know about all that jazz.
Yeah, you're really going to ruffle some feathers with that statement.
That's funny.
But no, it just, again, I'm just looking behind you. And when I think about that hometown hustle concept within the community, there's a shit ton of people out there hustling, and we don't focus on them enough. And that's what I love about what you do. You get people on here that have a voice that may not have any other way to really be heard, because again, there's so much information out there. Even the local newspaper doesn't really reach anybody anymore, because we as consumers don't look to those things like other generations did. So
Well, because I think we're concerned about the spin or the skew, because we've been told that everything has a slant to it. So nobody wants to read the local paper anymore, because what are they trying to push down my throat? Right. It's all of those different things that add up to, us not communicating. This is what it kind of all goes back to, is the fact that, how do you reach people, or how do you talk? Unless you can get into their feed or their channel by clickbait crap and all that stuff to get in front of them, you don't have a shot if you're just a good old friendly face that's trying to push good.
Well, nobody wants to, like you were saying before, nobody these days, I'm not going to say nobody, but the majority of people don't want to see even their friends do better than them. That's kind of the point that a lot of places have gotten to, where
why is that? Yeah.
It's
they
ego.
they don't want to see that. Yeah, they can't get away. They can't
ego.
get out of their own way and turn their own ego off and just be excited for somebody else.
Yeah.
You can get people together that are so stoked that somebody does better than them. Holy crap. Watch what changes shit right there.
it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah. So, as soon as we started talking about this, I'm like, yep, here it comes. So, Scott, you recently, there's a group of friends that you hang out with, guys that work at Noveski.
The majority of them, there's, worked there or had worked there,
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 of us.
Yeah, so there's 5 of you, and you started this group called the Pizza Boys.
I can't even sit at this table. I'm not worthy.
Yeah, careful. Yeah. So in that regard, tell us about the Pizza Boys and why it started, and kind of what your goals were with the Pizza Boys, and we'll interject here. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Pizza Boys started with 5 guys that basically just decided to make a commitment to shooting every week, because we all wanted to get better and elevate each other. And by doing so, we didn't really have an idea that was going to have anything to do with anything else besides just us 5 shooting and going to get pizza afterwards. That's really what Pizza Boys is we shot every week. We made this commitment, went out and did it, and it was just a thing. It wasn't like there wasn't a name for it. And we would go out to Applegate, and we would go to the local little pizza joint there in Applegate, and that's what we did. And one week, we were all talking in a group chat, and it was, should we call this thing something? And one of the guys goes, yeah, we should call it the Pizza Boys. My dad used to always call me a pizza boy. And I was like, all right, that sounds pretty good. And then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just kind of played around. We're just literally playing around. This doesn't have any. The whole point of Pizza Boys, as far as us selling stuff, is to pay for ammo, and so the guys on the Pizza Boys can go do trainings places to get better. That's really what it's about. But
even before you started selling stuff, you were posting your trainings and posting the things that you were doing online
Yep.
to your followers on Instagram, and it evolved into this thing.
Yeah, I mean, when we did that, the only reason we're doing is trying to get other people to do that too.
Right.
Anybody can go get a couple guys that they know and make a commitment to go shoot every week. And that's just what it is. And we're just really hoping that other people want to do that too. It is super beneficial to just being around other people that want to do that, having like-minded people that do that, and having somebody that really wants to push you to do it, and a commitment to make to be there. And it's what's happening is just wild to see this many people get excited about it. But I think it's because there really hasn't been anybody that's just been normal dudes that want to go out, or girls. We have a whole girl squad that does it too. And, you know, it just wants to go out and shoot.
Yeah.
There just isn't somebody that wants to lift each other up. I mean, when you see the 5 guys we shoot with, when we shoot, it is all about massive shit talking. We will.
Yes, it's all very encouraging.
Yes.
We will berate each other. But
That's
good
what
friends do.
pushes.
when
Yes.
you push somebody,
That is
and
stress inoculation.
when you can do it, and you see the elevation that takes, when the excitement for somebody when they do better, when everybody goes wild, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's something.
And I think that speaks also to something that a lot of people struggle with these days is everybody wants to belong to something bigger than themselves. And I think about how valuable it is for us as men, as dads, as husbands, to even have people that, you know, and this is bigger and deeper, but I know you guys, when you go have pizza, you don't just sit there and talk about shooting.
I don't think we talk about shooting at all. when we
You
go
sit
down.
back and talk about life, and shooting is what brings you together to get better, to be better husbands and dads and protectors. But it's about relating to each other and having an outlet and people to talk to, you know, and which is so needed
Right.
and so valuable and imperative, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we'll sit around for a couple hours while we're eating pizza, and I don't even know the guns come up very often. It's more about like what everybody's been up to, how their lives are, people bouncing ideas off each other. And then at the end, we always have to bring it back and be like, all right, pony up, boys. We got to figure out what we need to do. What are we doing next week? What do we got going on with this thing? And it's like a 10-minute breakdown about actual guns, Pizza Boy stuff, and the other jazz. And then that's the only portion that we really even talk about when we're doing that. It's all just about us and our lives and what's going on. And it is, like you said, it is, I think it's a missing component to being around people like that, where you can actually have a forum to talk.
A safe space.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to call it a safe
Yeah,
space.
No, not at all.
There's toxic masculinity there, so it's not very safe.
We have a group of friends, and there's 5 of us really, and it's Dan and I and Lawton and his brother and our other buddy Matt, and so there's the group of us. We have a group chat on our phone, and you might be the Pizza Boys, but we're the Mixed Nuts, baby. Yeah, we used to be the Mickey Mouse Club, but we changed it to the Mixed Nuts. So, but that's literally all it is like massive shit talking and banter, and then.
But at 1:30 a.m., if I was stuck in a jail cell somewhere, guess who's getting a text?
Yeah, absolutely.
That group.
Yeah, like they're just. But that's what we lean on each other for. I mean, we'll call each other and you know, for advice and talking and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, what do they say? You become the 5 people you spend the most time with. Or
You are a product of your environment.
You're a product of your environment. And so I hope that people can choose to surround themselves with people that make them better. I mean, it was the biggest reason why I married my wife. I just felt like she made me a better person.
Yep.
You know, and it wasn't because she's super hot.
Well played.
Shannon doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, she does. No.
I hear him talk enough. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, not yeah, absolutely. And it, it wasn't for any of those. It was literally because she made me feel like a better person. Like when I was with her, like I wanted to be better because of her. And I just surrounding yourself with people like that is huge. And that's why you guys are here today, is to talk about that community and all that stuff.
But taking on the community side of it and mixing it with the digital aspect, I feel that if you guys didn't meet in person, it wouldn't be the same exchange, right? That's the difficult thing.
It is really funny because we'll do this stuff even for when it's anything that's online, and then you get to meet those people in person. Because we get to like meet people online, talk to them forever, and then you go to see them, and it's the first time you've actually had a human-to-human interaction. Mm-hmm. But it always seems like you pick up like you know each other. It's not a big deal. But if you only do that online, there's a complete disconnect between actually meeting somebody in person. Mm-hmm. You can roll into being like we knew each other forever, but you're not really, you kind of think you're connected on talking through messages back and forth, but you don't really know each other until you do get in person. And it is a cool thing to be able to see that.
And how does that impact your profession and your job? Would you say it's the same thing? It has, the ripple effects of you being able to go and meet somebody in person and all that, as opposed to doing everything online?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, you can only get away with so much Zoom calls and emails and text messages. There's just a human interaction scenario that I think us as humans have to have. And I think a lot of us noticed that through COVID, where it was like you can't see anybody and can't do anything, and nobody sees each other's faces, and you can't be in crowds of people. I mean, the first time I went to a concert that we could all go to, I felt so different afterwards than I had ever had when I could go do it whenever I wanted. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was kind of like, I looked at my wife, Cody, and was like, babe, this sounds weird, but I feel like we all needed that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We didn't know it because we hadn't been in that situation before, but I noticed it. I was like, man, I feel like I was so uplifted. Yeah. It wasn't like, I mean, the music was great. Yes, that helped. But
being in the crowd.
Around people, just seeing people interacting with other people when it had been taken away for so long, and then you get put back in it, and that was pretty profound for me to be able to be aware of that and be able to think about that.
I'll tell you what drives me crazy even now is all of the businesses that you go to that still have the plexiglass up. Mm-hmm. It literally starts to infuriate me. Yeah. I just want to rip it down. Mm-hmm. And if it's this wide, I'm literally gonna come over here and say, all right, I feel better. Yeah. I don't care how you feel. You know, I mean,
we're
gonna get our first blue COVID stripe. Learn more about COVID-19.
Oh, that'd be awesome!
Yes. Tired of misinformation?
It's this symbol of walls, barriers between people.
Yeah.
But it goes back. I mean, I hate to be cyclical on this, but I mean, we had talked about the beginning. I don't even think it was on the recording because we had talked about it first, but it's that community aspect and believing that people are better than we're told that they are, and all of those things. You have to get out of your comfort zone to be able to do that. You have to get out of your comfort zone to go train. You have to get out of your comfort zone to be a better human being and everything that comes with it. And I'm not going to say nobody, right? I'm not going to get, but
never speak in absolutes.
Yes,
yeah.
Right.
Always never's not, but you're on the right. Yeah, you're not
right.
wrong.
It's just be a good human being. Go train. Go get better. Yeah. That should be like literally. We are on this earth for such a short period of time that if we're always not trying to get better before we die, like I think we're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing to can think about in that regard too. Is that I'm going to use you guys as examples. So, like Scott, I think that you have this natural, insane ability to make people feel incredibly comfortable when they're around you, right? Like they're just
beard.
It's the I don't know
until you have to shoot against him.
No, but even then, I just you're talking shit, but at the same time, it's in love. Like you can. and not everybody can do that. I mean, that's a natural thing. I mean,
You don't talk shit to me. Does that mean you don't like me?
Oh, you've heard me talk shit.
No, but that's what I mean. You have this insane ability to make people feel comfortable. And so, like, let's say there's a company out there that's just like, oh, fuck, Scott Lucabaugh's an asshole, and he works for Noveski, and he sucks, and this and that. I could bet that if you were to, like, meet that person and, like, they'd never met you before, and then you sit down with them, and then they didn't know who you were and know who you work for, I could bet that they'd be like, dude, this guy's awesome. And then you'd be like, I'm Scott Luckabaugh, I work for Noveski, and they'd be like, you know, like, what the hell? You know, like, it's just, you can't judge people for that, like, just because they work for Haley or they work for Noveski. Like, you, on the other hand, are, like, one of the best educators. I'm not going to call you an instructor. The best educator I've ever come across. Like, the way that you can take, like, I'm a super judgy person, right? Like, it is what and so, like, I'm in the class, and there's some of these questions that come up in the class, and I'm just like, seriously, you know, and you may be thinking that in your head. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the way that you can take those questions and answer them, you know, and provide that education in a nice and pleasing manner, I think is just, that's what stands out to me when I see you interact with students in the class. But it's the same thing. Like, I just feel like if people were to come and meet you in person and take your class, maybe not knowing who you are or what you work or who you work for, like, they would not have those opinions. They'd just be like, wow, this is amazing, right? People need to be more open-minded towards that kind of stuff and just be able to be like, this is a person. Like, I don't know them. I see them online. That who they work for has nothing to do with, like, what kind of person they are, right? It's the same thing in the real estate space.
Well, let me caveat that a little bit, because who you work for, who you surround yourself with,
That's fair.
does matter,
Yeah, that does.
because that says something about you. And if you are surrounding yourself with people that in some way, shape, form, or fashion go against your core ethics, morals, and values, then why are you there? Maybe you're compromising to gain something. I don't know. But
Okay.
so I get what you're saying, but there's one little caveat.
Yeah.
Who you surround yourself with matters.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think people should be more open-minded to it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, the open-minded to the, like, hey, this isn't, like, my way isn't the only way. Like, I need to be more, like, open to the idea that, you know, there's other options out there.
Well, that's because we are programmed and taught what to think instead of how to think for years. That's our entire education system is about just, and I don't care if it's public school, K through 12, our higher education, even some trade schools, the military, the law enforcement, all that education, all the programs of instruction are programming people. Here's what you think, and here's what you do. And we are not allowed to or encouraged to think about how we should think about questions or situations, instead of sitting back and going, well, there's not just one answer. Mm-hmm. There's so much context. So people are ingrained to be judgmental off of what they've been exposed to, and maybe even lack of discovery.
Even if there's no basis to that. So you could get told, this is what you do, this is why you, there's not really this is why you do it, or there's not a lot of whys. It's a lot of do, this is how it's done, this is what's always been done, and that's the way you're supposed to do it. It's not, this is the way that we're going to tell you to do it, and this is why you need to do it that way. And then the why gives, now people can question and think about that. When there's a why, when somebody says why, that lays out a sentence or a paragraph of words that are put together on why you would do that. That lets people read that and go, oh, I don't know if I agree with that. And then people can have a discussion about that, and maybe there's a better way to do it. Mm-hmm. But when we get roped into these, this is it, this is why you do it, not why you do it, this is just it. Yeah. Without questioning, like, it's just like Jared said, We don't teach our kids or anybody these days to question things. It's like, this is this is this, and this is this.
Well, I think there's been a big evolution, or there's starting to be an evolution. But I mean, school was raising kids to be good employees, right?
Still that way.
Right. And so when I have employees
Worker
that
bots.
say, how do I have to do this? And I say, I don't know. Here's the goal I need you to figure out. And I've had a lot of employees that actually can't do that. And so we've had to part ways because I give them the horizon and they have no idea how to steer their ship to the horizon. They want me to give checkpoints and say, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But I think we're seeing a wave of entrepreneurs. We're seeing a wave of people that are coming back to going, oh my God, I'm not a robot. I'm not plugged into the matrix. I can figure out how to do that. But the problem is, it's just in its evolution. It's in its baby infancy stages.
Yeah, and from a leadership standpoint, that can be a little frustrating. If you have someone that doesn't just follow a system, it can be a little frustrating sometimes because you're like, I need you to do this. Why?
Shit, because I told you so.
That's when you have a decision. You can either say, just do it, or you can say, I'll come back and tell you why, but right now I need you to switch directions. You know, and then maybe somebody
but at
goes,
that point you have somebody.
okay,
who,
I don't like that answer, but I'm going to do it now. But you better come back and tell me why. You know, so thinkers. I
look at
didn't
that.
wear that on
Convenient.
purpose, but people that think can be a little frustrating sometimes to other thinkers or to other very driven type A people.
Not if you put them on the right path.
Not if you put them on the right path. So again, it takes the right leadership, it takes the right team, it takes the right people.
I love to let people fail.
Yeah.
Fail. That's how I learn. Fail over and over and
Please
over
do.
again.
Yeah.
If you want to, if I needed something done, I'll say, here's what I need done. Just like you, this is the end product. Go for it. You are the one doing it. You might have a better way of doing it than I do. I'm not saying that my way is the end all be all. There's probably 20 ways to get to the end of that process. And and learn a way to do it.
Right.
Figure it out.
Learn it your way.
Yeah. I'm sure that your way probably works better for you than the way that I would have told you to do it. I'm just looking to get to this end goal. And for me, it's a way for me to learn too. You're doing some more work that I don't have the time to do. And now I can go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense than the way that I was doing it.
I struggle with the fact that when somebody does that, if I tell them how to do the entire project, number one, it's not going to be the only time I have to do that. Number two, I'll do it myself. Like that's the hard part. Like if I have to tell you all the steps, I'm taking it back. Because if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it right, do it my way. That's the struggle.
And,
Well,
and
and
I
in
think
the
that's
end,
a
when you-
flaw.
Yeah.
In us,
Yes.
in our generation, and I know you're what, like 24? I'm just kidding.
He turned 21 yesterday.
You know, I think that if you grew up in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, we did a lot of shit for ourselves, and that was good. You know, I mean, I was raised incredibly independent, and I learned how to do a lot of things, and then I think that was a flaw as a parent because my kids would be doing something and I'm so driven and I'd be like, just, okay, never mind, I'll do it, you know? And that was bad because I was shortchanging my kids just simply because I was overtasked or just, you know, I had to get stuff done. And I think back on that now that I got a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old and now a 15-year-old, I try and do a little bit better with the one that's still at home. But yeah, we're just like, whether it's employees or kids, we're like, just forget it, I'll do it myself. And then that person doesn't get the opportunity. Is it because of our impatience? Is it because of our workload? Is it because of whatever it is? We're just like, forget it.
Combination
I'll
of
do
all
it.
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to speak for Daniel. I think the problem is we have this inherent thing that we can do it better. Quite honestly, that's
Absolutely.
the driver. So it's not even all those other things. Is that, and I'm getting to the point, I don't know about where you're at, but 90% of what I can do is better than, you know, somebody else doing 90% of what I can do is better than 100% of me time allocating that.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and that does come through, but
And especially
am I speaking out of turn for you?
No, not at all. This is really hitting home on the parenting side because I get to that point where I'm just like, I'll just do it. Yeah, a lot.
Yep.
That's just how I am. And I think in the workspace, I probably do that also, but I feel like I don't know. I'll have to do some reflecting on that. But
especially if you build a business on your own. If you build a business from the ground up, I really feel like you're so used to handling every single task, and then when people start coming in and they're struggling with that task, and you're like, well, I used to do this. You know, I did all this, so here's how you do it. Or never mind, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that is, it's a difficult balance because you've got a time frame to get something done. You demand a specific level of quality, and maybe you know that without that quality, you're going to lose efficacy of whatever that effort is. That's the balance of allowing people to fail.
Scalability.
Scalability, yeah.
But in the end, what you're doing is investing in that person. You're investing in them. The time that you're gonna lose by them maybe screwing that up is an investment in them. And that's for me. I need to think about that with my kids. You know, and I am investing in them to make them a better human and a better person to society. I feel like that's our jobs as dads and moms to do that. Yeah. And we do get caught up with the rat race. So we gotta get here.
Oh man,
I
made so many mistakes because of the stupid ass rat race and thinking that I just had to go make more money to support my family, and I was not investing.
You just missed the point. It's because you just have to get things done. Like we feel like there's things that we don't really have to get done, or that we could kind of slide to the side and put some more time in with it's not that much time that let them fail that, but it's like, nah, I'll do it. You just go crazy and get it done yourself.
Right.
Well, Jared, you had mentioned the ages of your kids. I have a 19-year-old. I asked him to do a task, and he just looked at me. He's like, Dad, you've never told me how to do this. And I was like, shit, got me.
Never mind, I'll just do it.
And sometimes, I don't know how you guys learn, but you know how I learn. You're right. If I see something done a few times, I can typically do it. And I made assumptions because my kids, my two oldest, when they were little bitty, I mean, 4 and 5, 5 and 6 years old, because they're only 15 months apart, they could do anything. I mean, literally, I'll tell a quick story. They were 5 and 6, and we had a big horse operation. We had about 230 horses at the time. And I had 2 high school kids that were working, and they were just dragging ass and not doing their job. And I called those 2 out, the high school kids. I said, I want you guys to watch something. And I called my oldest 2. I said, Daisy, Ashby, you guys come out here. And the John Deere Gator was hooked up to the hay trailer. And I said, I need you guys to go feed those 40 mares, 5 and 6 years old. Got on, one of them was on the Gator, one of them was on the hay trailer, and they drove out. They pinned every one of those horses, and they threw out feed and threw out hay at 5 and 6 years old and drove the Gator back. And I looked at the 2 high school kids, and I said, I can replace you with a 5 and a 6-year-old. If you want a job, you better start doing what I ask you to do. At 5 and 6, my kids were limitless. And then they get to tween years, and something happens where they're like, they don't want to do anything, you know? But then I realized, I assumed that they were so capable and little sponges early on that then they see us going through life, and I forget to take the time. Oh man, I've never really invested the time to show them what to do and how to do this. Right. And hindsight's 20/20, you know? Remember that.
Yeah, it is.
I catch myself doing it, and I'll have to stop myself and go, okay,
teaching moment.
Let's do it. And it's been a lot with Pierce because he's really to the point where he's picking stuff up, and he's super interested in guns and everything that I do. He's he wants to be me, so I'll take him.
I kind of want to be you too.
I just want the beard.
You got one of them, bro?
No. It's coming.
It's a business decision, Scott, for him. Trust me, as soon as he stops doing mortgages, he'll let that puppy get long. I'm sure.
Dude, we're going Duck Dynasty. I'm not stopping there, Scott.
It did go really long for a while, but that was back in the gym days, and I used to catch it like bars in my beard all the time. So that got 86'd.
Yeah.
But it's about as long as it gets anymore.
It's a good beard. No, this is interesting how this topic has evolved into parenting almost.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Sorry.
no,
You
it's
never know where we're gonna go.
and honestly, I don't care. Like, Dan knows, like, we don't have a lot of structure here. Like, I literally just want to have conversations, you know, and just see where it goes. Because what we're just talking about right now, for me, I'm just like, damn, dude. Like, this is another reason why I love my wife, bro, because she is way better at this than I am. Like,
I think we all noticed that. Like all of our wives, you know,
Yeah.
with the kids and doing. I mean, just with Cody going to that class this week, you know,
Yeah.
she was there for 3 days, which means I'm there for 3 days. She's there for 3 days. That means nobody's with the kids. Mm-hmm. And these are 12 to 13-hour days that they were putting in, and it takes a toll.
Yeah.
But for her to do that and put that time in, that's the first time in the last 12 years that we've been together that she's done something specifically for herself. Mm-hmm. And I think that our wives just have the ability they are on another level with the ability to manage, handle stress and schedules, and we do not give them enough credit.
Absolutely
at least
not.
I don't.
yeah. No, and I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, 1,000% again. What I'm saying is that I like these conversations to evolve how they're evolving, because somebody's going to pick something up from it.
Yep.
Right. And that's kind of the overarching topic of what we wanted to talk about today, is that it's community, right? And it's spreading information and just trying to be a resource for people in whatever avenue or venue that I can. You know, it's to
elevate others.
It's to elevate others. And I love it. And I mean, you guys are two of the best in one of my, well, that's not even one of my favorite hobbies, but literally my favorite hobby. There's literally not one thing I like doing more. Yeah. So it's just, it's useful information. So I super appreciate you guys sitting down and talking about this stuff. So it's yeah, I'm picking up parenting advice and something that we thought we were talking about something completely different.
What we all have to remember is, no matter what our role is outside of our home, and I say this looking back, we're replaceable everywhere but there.
Mm-hmm.
At home.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy shit, dude.
And when we think, I'm trying to say this without, because
dude, that fucking hit hard.
when we think that we are out doing the best that we can to provide, that's taking time away from them.
Yeah. Yep. I lied to myself for years. People would say, "Why are you doing what you're doing?" For my family.
For my family.
And my family was getting neglected. Literally. And it was a lie that I told myself. And at 40, I had a big reckoning. I had to come to Jesus with myself going, all right, who was it really for? Right? It was, that's a shitty day to have in your life.
And
but you have to have that reckoning.
You know, what you just said is huge. You know, my wife is, you know, I just saw something with the little jigsaw puzzle pieces and mom in the middle. And that's absolutely true, because you know, we have conversations a lot because I'm on the road every other week. I'm gone half the year. Now when I'm home, I get to go to games and track meets and things like that. But when I'm gone, you know, I'm gone. And it's an investment elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And for the first time a few months ago, somebody came up and said, "Thank your family for allowing you to be here." No one's ever said that on the road. And a student came up and said that. And I'm like, man, wow, what an observation. Mm-hmm. Because he said, I know what it means to be gone. He said, from a family that one of the pillars is gone. Yeah. So
from
even though we think we're making a living for them, and yes, we are, we're providing, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had there's a company here in town called Bradley Putters, and the guy Brad Converse we had on the podcast. And
do they make putters?
Yeah, he makes putters.
Out of anything you want.
Anything you want, you can just call him up and he'll make you a putter. It's a custom putter company. That's all he does, and they're worldwide known.
Wow.
Built right here in Grants Pass. He builds every single one of them himself by hand. Super cool company. But one of the things, you remember this? One of the things that he mentioned in the podcast is it was like advice. I mean, it's a question we asked a lot is like, what advice would you give people? And he says, well, if you think you're doing something for your family, but your family doesn't appreciate it, don't do it. You know, and I it like hit me at that time. I was like, damn, that's crazy. But like that's when you said that, it's just like, holy shit, that's exactly what this is. It's like you are replaceable everywhere, but at home, you know, and that's just, it's big eye-opening moment for sure. So so true. Maybe I knew it already before, but just how you said it is just,
I don't
Nice
know.
reminder.
yeah.
You know, we take a lot of that for granted, but until you realize that, or at least you hope that you're not replaceable at home. If you marry
Who's
the
that
right
man running my life? We
if-
talk about that country
if you
song
marry
all the time.
if you marry the right person, you're not replaceable at home.
Yeah. You're from Texas, you know that country song.
Yeah.
There's that song, damn, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's he's talking about, that's not my truck in my driveway, that's not my, you know, and he says that's not who's
That's not my dog in my front yard.
Yeah, not my
Yeah.
dog. But it's in this. It makes it sound like, hey, you know, like, you know, we got a divorce and there's some other man in my life. But when I look at the song, I hear like there's like he sees somebody that's in his family that's doing all these things. That's him as a person, but it's not him. Like physically,
Right.
Physically, that's him in his family, but
We're still debating that, Daniel.
We are
I
debating
believe
it.
we're coming in from different angles, and
I
we're gonna have to
understand.
meet that guy.
Yeah.
To figure
Anyway.
that out.
It's really
You can
deep lyrical analysis.
yeah, this is just irrelevant.
Hometown
Yeah,
Hustle.
You can take that song however you want to take that.
yeah,
So I hijacked when you were talking about Pizza Boys. I hijacked the conversation.
yeah.
If you want to,
Well, you want me to circle back to the Pizza Boys?
yeah.
So you can't get this anymore unless they do another one. But this is just one of the things that the Pizza Boys did is they put a shooting competition because they want people to go and train. So they built this shooting competition, and so but pretty fun little marketing and a nice way to kind of, you know, get people excited about something is that they sent a T-shirt and a shooting competition in a pizza box, right, with some patches and some stickers and stuff. And
Yeah, you gotta. So all the stuff that we do, we're only gonna do once. Not the pizza box itself, but like shirts and stickers and patches. Generally speaking, we're only gonna do that once. So like the patch that came with that would be the only time you get that. To just kind of make it like niche for that. But really, what that is a fairly high target to reach.
fairly high. We have a guy who teaches firearms training
Fairly high.
all over the country.
But that
shoots every week. Doesn't mean who's an incredible shooter. And sorry to call you out, Jared, but failed the Pizza Boys challenge.
He did not get the gold patch.
So no,
but guess what? I learned.
yeah,
But guess what? I didn't get the gold patch for the rifle side of it either, and neither did a bunch of us.
which
So that
actually
was-
shocks the shit out of me because
Trevor Blue is the
yeah.
only one that
Yeah.
got the rifle.
so far.
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean I've shot it a bunch of times, but when it comes down to it, you got to do it when you got to do it,
Yeah,
On demand.
and you know it just brain farted it, and that's what happens, and that's why we did that is to make it kind of difficult, but then it makes people really want to elevate themselves to get better, whether you get it or not. But how that works is we will do it again. There's going to be probably probably three more of those. So we'll have four people that will be the fastest time for that gets that, and then we'll put them all together at the end. Let them fight it out for a winner, and then we'll have some of our sponsor people put together some stuff for a big prize package for them.
Pretty awesome. What's the distance for the rifle, or is it both 3
5
yards?
yards.
Oh, it's 5 yards.
yeah, which is really challenging. And again, we don't need to get into this, but it's really challenging with a rifle, especially when you have a really high mounted optic. You know, so it's because the height over bore thing, and you know, a lot of people won't get this who aren't into the gun stuff. But it's, I would think that it would be more challenging for me to do with a rifle than it would be for a pistol. But he's like one of the best rifle shooters I've ever seen, and he didn't get it. So it's just like it was just a big mentally checked out part for me that I had zero even thoughts about. That's gonna be easy. Didn't even think about it. That wasn't like something in the back of my mind. Like I'm never gonna get that. I'll just zip that, no problem. But I stressed on the pistol side a ton
And that's all I was thinking about. We were back there, like, Jared's pulling boxes out on who's up next. It was like, oh, you're up. And then I ended up going almost at the end, and that just gave me more time to stress about it. So I stressed more about the pistol, and the pistol ended up, and I shouldn't have. I knew that I could do it. I should have just done it. But I stressed over the pistol, and I ended up banging that, and then the rifle goes to shit because I took it for granted. And that's mental checkout for me.
Yeah.
But what's great about it is all the shit talking and everything, and
Yeah.
then when he nailed it, everybody was like high five and hugging.
Yeah.
It's great to to push each other.
We put a video out of all of us shooting it. We show our failures and we show our makes.
Super important.
And you get to see how stoked everybody is.
Yeah, well, I'll share this story too because I think it ties into the community aspect. So last year, I'm known in your Haley classes now as this press check. So, and how this happened is, at the end of almost every day of the classes, you do a challenge, between all the, the students in the class, and so. And I don't remember the exact challenge last year. I think it was just like one shot to steal at 50 yards or something like that, or whatever it was.
30 yards.
No,
Last night was 35.
No,
Gotcha.
last year I
last
think
year
it was
was
100.
Well, that sounds a little far.
It was at least 50.
It was 50.
It was 50.
Because it was during the day.
It was during the day, yeah. So I think it was pretty far, but I get up there and I get Scott over there and Kelly and Zach are over there, just and like it was so bad, like it was so much talking, like they wouldn't shut up so much that I literally turned off my electronic headset. Like I'm just like, oh my god, dude! Like all right, I got to zone this out here and turn this off, and I could still hear them even in my headset back there chirping, and so. I get out there and I'm totally in my own head because they're talking crap. And I pull my gun out of my holster and I press check the gun, but I don't know what I'm looking at because there's no bullet in that gun, Jared. Like, and you were standing
right
there.
there.
Yeah.
Running
And so
a
I
little
look in
shotgun.
there and so I press check the gun, put the gun back in my holster, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And then pull the gun out and just click. And just the whole class, because of all the shit talking that these guys are doing, erupts in laughter, right? Erupts in laughter. And
Let's go back one sec.
okay.
Was there a mag even in the gun?
There was a mag in it, but when he press checked it, one of the banterings was, hey, press checks are free when you were doing that.
Right.
And then all right, good. Okay, back to your story.
Yeah.
So this has already been said.
Yeah. And then after I put a bullet in the gun, and I was going to walk off the line because I figured that was my turn,
So
right?
get your ass back.
Yeah, get your ass back up on the line. So I go, all right. And so I get lined up again. Timer goes off, beep, and just couldn't defeat the retention on my holster, because it's one of the duty holsters or whatever. And so it goes off again, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, this is so bad.
Now everybody else is getting into it. So
Yeah.
everybody's just,
At first it was Scott and Kelly and Zach, and now it's literally the whole class. They're just all talking trash. And then Jared makes me get up there again, and
you hit it.
and
then what did the class do?
and then the class erupted, and I'll never forget it.
Celebration.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. So it shut off again. So we should, but I'll just finish up with this camera running. Hopefully it won't die on me here, but overarching thing is that I'll never forget that moment. But that's the community side of it that I just love being a part of because I love to learn. And so with that being said, we'll finish with that. I really appreciate you guys being here. Just really cool conversation. I love doing this. And so I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to do this because I know we were out at the range until 12:30, 1 o'clock last night.
Yeah. We're going to do it again tonight.
Yeah.
maybe
so,
even later.
Maybe again later.
Well, and thanks for having us just to sit down and have a conversation. It's great to meet you. Yeah. And I always think about my favorite people are spread out all across this country. And I always, we text a lot, and I'm like, man, I wish we were closer. We could go shoot. We could go to the river. We could go, you guys need to come to Texas because there are incredible men and women, but incredible men that I look up to all across this country. And that's the best part about this whole job. Just the people, man. So
Awesome.
I can
thanks for
imagine.
having us.
Jared, I'm going to change my business card. My name is Dan Doyle. I work with Badass Americans.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
It is getting changed this week.
Work with badass Americans. Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. Anyway, thanks guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
That's a wrap.